Alright, welcome back to another episode. Today we are going to work on disassembling our head here. We're going to vapor blast and all that kind of stuff, make sure it looks pretty, and then we'll inspect everything as well, see how everything looks, and then in another day we'll get this back together. That's not happening tonight. I don't have enough time. So let's get to it here. The first thing I'm going to do is remove the rocker covers here. Try to wipe it down a little bit, and then it's going into the oven, which I had just wired up, so yay. All right, so here is our cylinder head. I've removed one cover here. Now I've got to remove these last three beautiful NYC Norton ones. I don't remember what size it was. And another viewer commented on how these look bigger than standard. He was telling me that a standard one is 28.5 millimeters. These are actually right around 32 millimeters, so I'm guessing somebody possibly bored these out by hand. I'm not entirely sure. There's no stamps on the top of this head, so the combats will have a C right here, and there's usually on the later model heads there's a marking here, a stamp here telling you which head it is. This is an early one, doesn't have any of that information, but that's fine. Got all new gaskets ordered, so I don't have to worry about retaining gaskets or anything like that. I've actually got a whole new set for the entire engine. And into the bag these go, so everything stays together. Things don't get lost. Also, another thing that speaks to how this bike was put together are my intake manifolds. So this manifold, which I've already vapor blasted and I couldn't help myself, is 32 millimeters on both sides. This one is 30 and 28 millimeters. So they're not matching. And because the ports here on my head, the intake ports are 32 millimeters, my carburetors are 32 millimeters, so I went ahead and ordered another one of these, which was 32 and 32, so that way it matches up. From what I've read, the 32 to 32 millimeters were on the 850 Commandos. I know this is a 750. I'm not, super versed on fluid dynamics and all that kind of fun stuff, but I don't see where this would be an issue having, 32 to 32, everything at 32 millimeters. There's somebody on the internet that's going to tell me I'm completely wrong and I'm an imbecile. Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong, and yes, I'm an imbecile, but I really don't see any issue with it personally. All right, the first thing Mr. Norman White says to do is to wash it thoroughly with degreasant and then rinse it thoroughly with water before you do anything. So we'll just chuck it in the parts washer here, try to rinse it out the best we can. Doesn't appear we've done much, but the fluid in the parts washer does look be a bit darker, so maybe I got some oil and some grease and some dirt out from in there. I don't know. All this will clean up with the vapor blaster, so I'm not worried about that. So I'll give it a rinse off, and then we'll bring it in, and then we'll chuck it in the oven. And this is one of the best things about having my own shop. I've got my own sink. Now I don't have to worry about getting in trouble with the missus for having motorcycle parts in the sink. So all I'm doing is just giving it a rinse per Mr. Norman White's instructions. Getting a lot of this stuff off. We'll go into the oven. That way we can pull these out here, the spindles, and then go from there. Alright, Mr. Norman White says put the head in the oven at 100 degrees Celsius, so at Fahrenheit, for us Americans here, that is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, so I'm doing the best I can with my state-of-the-art oven here. I think I might have to steal some oven mitts from the missus before I pull this out. Warm cookies. All right, let's get this out. It's nothing like the smell of chemicals hitting you in the eye. I guess it doesn't do that good of a job of rinsing. Here we go. All right, so I apologize for any loud rain noise. So I'm assuming, so this is the tool. So this looks like it just threads in and uses this, and you just keep screwing it in to push out or to pull out the shaft. So hopefully I'm doing the right thing. Let's get this rocker to pull out. Alright, so what I'm doing is I'm holding this and then I'm just turning this nut, and in turn I should be extracting this rocker spindle, and I imagine we'll find out here in a few minutes if I'm doing this correctly. I've never done this before. It seems like there's always people on the internet that know better ways of doing things. But the cool thing about putting my videos of me doing things incorrectly on YouTube is there's always somebody that tells me, hey, you should do it a different way. I do it this way and it's a lot easier. And yeah, it'd be nice to know that before I do this job, but it is what it is. I think in the Norton factory manual it says to use a slide hammer to do this. Yep, there it is, and it's stuck inside my gut now. Alright, so I got it out, and it looks pretty decent. It's a little scratching, and I'm wondering if it's from this tool here, but that's on the side and I can't even catch a nail on it, so I think we might be okay. Now there's one down and 3 to go. And while I'm at it, I'm going to see if I can't pull this assembly out here. It's kind of difficult to get around the stud. It appears to be in good condition. Alright, so I've kind of gotten a bit of a technique down, so let me show you guys my technique and share with anybody on the internet that's trying to do the same thing. So I've got the nut here all the way up, and now I'm screwing on. There we go. And you want to screw this bolt on as tight as you can get it. So I'm just going to go and tighten it down. Really tight like that. Okay. And then I'm just going to take a wrench and just keep on tightening with a wrench. So now I've turned my socket to loose, and my super duper top secret way that I've figured out how to do this is hold it over the edge, so then I can keep my open and wrench like that, and then I can just spin. It's going to be very tight and difficult at first, and then it'll get easier. Christ. There we go. Just have to find its place, I guess. And then now, just spin your wrench. So that one started coming out super easy. I guess it got so hot. So I've patented my technique, and if you watch this video and you want to use it, you have to subscribe. And then this is how to remove it. Let's keep the bolt screwed in to the spindle, knock it down, and then unscrew it there. So this was my left intake side. So I'll put in my LI bag. And I'm going to try to remove this. See if I can't grab that spacer. I don't know if I'll be able to. I read that it's best to replace the spacer in these little springs or whatever. So I'll probably go ahead and order new spacers and springs, but these adjusters are not worn out at all. Those bits aren't worn out at all. Inside looks good. So this looks really good. All right, I went and got me a valve spring compressor. And let's get these valve springs out. First thing we want to do is I'm locating this end onto the valve or the top of the valve spring as best I can. All right, so I've propped my cylinder head up with some wood. I think this is gonna be the best way of doing this. And then now we're going to locate this end onto the valve. All right, so I have, as you can see, I've got this end on the valve, and then this end on the spring, best I can get it. And now I'm just going to tighten this down right here, and hopefully we can get our valve springs out. All right, so I'm tightening this down, and this is causing the spring on this side to compress, and it looks like the keepers are trying to come out, but it's not completely out. So I'm going to try to get both of those keepers out, and then we will let this, then we'll ease off on the tension on here before we pop it off, so that way the spring doesn't go flying across my shop. All right, so here are the two keepers. I was able to coax them out with a small pick. I didn't scrape anything or anything like that. I just worked them out with that because it's such a tight space to be working in. And now I just need to gradually ease off on the tension here. Then we can get our springs and valves and everything else out. So all right, so I got the left exhaust one out and everything's coming out fine. But on this right exhaust, everything seems to be kind of bound up in here. Looks like the end of the valve right there is bigger. I'm not sure what's going on here. I have to figure this out. There's something going on here. All right, so I figured out what's going on. So these sit on top of the valves right here. There wasn't one on top of this one right here. And as you can see, the push rod was hitting on here. Looks like not the best situation in the world, but I forgot to remove it out of that one. It just pulls right out, so I'll have to pull that right out, and then I can get the springs out. All right, so here on the right exhaust side, I compressed the spring again, then I actually had to pry this off with a flathead screwdriver. I didn't know any other way to get it off. It was really stuck on there. I had to use a lot of force. I don't know why that would have been on there so good. But it's concerning that one was missing on that exhaust side, but this one's here and the other ones were on the other valves. These get replaced, I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that. Got some homework to do. But now we can pull our springs out. And we can push our valve out. Boop. Just like that. And this actually has, looks like, bronze guides in there. So I want to say they've been changed at some point in time because I don't think they were bronze on these early Commandos. So everything's going into labeled bags, RE, right side exhaust. LE, left side exhaust. RI, right intake. LI, left intake. And how I tell these apart is if I was riding the bike. So if I'm sitting on the bike right now, on my left side right here, that's the left side. On my right side, that's the right side. It may or may not be the right way of doing it. Everybody might have their own way. I don't know. There might be a better way. I don't know. But this is what works for me. So this is what I'm doing. All right, guys. So we have the head fully apart. So we have everything in there. Everything seemed to be mostly in order the way it should be, except for the one bit that goes against the valve and for the, actually not the push rod, but the rocker to go against. So that part was missing. That's kind of frustrating on one of them anyway. And then, so now it's time to get this in the vapor blaster and have a nice transformation. All right, there is the vapor blasted cylinder head. I think it honestly probably looks better than new. I've never seen a brand new Norton Commando. I'm not old enough. But I'm sure they didn't look quite as good as this. So now, I'm not going to do it tonight because it's late and I have neighbors, but I'm going to hit this with the pressure washer to try to help get all the material out of here a few times. I'm going to hit that with it a few times, let it dry out, hit it with the air hose, and probably pressure wash and air hose a few times just to make sure I get it all the media out of here. It's got a little bit of gasket surfaces to clean up, not too bad. Alright guys, that's going to conclude it for today's video on disassembling my Norton Commando cylinder head. And then I vapor blasted it for fun. Well, not for fun because it just looks about 1,000 times better and it deserves it. And so now I have to go through everything, order all the wear parts, see what I need. I need to pressure wash this, run it out with air as well, probably pressure wash it again, run out with air again, just to make sure all the media is out of the head so there's no possible media that's going to be in there because that will destroy this engine, so that's not good. So that's all I've got for today, so make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If you learned something cool, make sure you subscribe. If I did something wrong, which I probably did, comment below, let me know what I did wrong, because everybody likes to do that, which is fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. I get to learn from it, so that's good. Thank you. That's it. Thank you, and have a good night.